this video, I'm going to cover the top 10 customer service interview questions and answers. So that will include the tough interview questions and answers associated with customer service, customer support, and similar roles. And there will also be lots of examples for those of you that don't have experience so that you know how to navigate your customer service interview. I'll also include how to structure your answer and how to use the STAR method in your interview as part of that structure. A quick congratulations to more of you guys getting phenomenal results this year. Congratulations, please keep sharing your results. It's really helping to inspire others that struggle in job interviews. So these are the questions that I'm going to cover in this video. How would you deal with a difficult customer? Tell me about a time when you made a mistake. Tell me about yourself. What does customer service mean to you? Why should we hire you? Why do you want to work for us? When have you gone above and beyond for a customer? Why do you want to work in customer service? How would you define good customer service? What's your biggest weakness? Do you have any questions for me? So question 1 is, how would you deal with a difficult customer? So here's an example answer. I would deal with a difficult customer by using active listening. It's most important to understand why the customer is difficult, what they're struggling with, and what their frustration stems from, so what's causing it. For example, I once took a phone call from an unhappy customer. He wanted to log a formal complaint and speak to management, and he didn't want to give any further information unless he was speaking to a manager. I wanted to see if I could calm the customer down and find a way to resolve the issue directly with him. I responded by remaining calm and empathizing with him. I explained that I understood that the issue must be quite serious and that he wanted to speak to a manager. I politely asked him if he would give me a little more information in order for me to pass him through. He explained that he had been charged twice for an item and had been on hold for over 40 minutes. I listened to the full issue and gave him my name so that if he were cut off, he would know exactly who he spoke to and could come back through to me directly. I then asked him if he would be willing to share the order details with me so I can have a quick look. He agreed, and it turned out that the customer had placed a double order and then cancelled one, which caused the double charging. When I discovered this, I was able to reverse the order and send out a replacement receipt. I then apologized for the inconvenience. He had completely calmed down by this point and no longer wanted to speak to a manager. He was satisfied with the refund and explanation. So why is this a good answer and how can I use it? So here are the best parts of that answer that you can reuse in your own interview. Of course, don't copy it, make it relevant to the job that you're going for. So in this answer, your tone, approach, and demeanor are demonstrated here, where you mention remaining calm, empathizing, asking for more information, giving your name, explaining that you understand the issue must be serious, and asking if he is willing to share the details. You're showing your willingness to demonstrate to the customer that you are on their side and that you're trying to help and are dedicated to digging into the root of the issue. Now, you may have noticed in this example that I use the phrase "for example." So that is key when you're trying to get the interviewer to picture you demonstrating that you have a certain skill set. So this allows them to imagine you in that situation instead of you simply saying, I deal with this all the time, I'm familiar with it, just take my word for it, and hoping that they trust you. And if you're answering a question like this, it helps to include a little bit of detail on the steps that you took the customer or client through to calm them down, like shown in that answer. Now, if you're going for a customer service job and you don't have experience, then you don't have to use a customer service setting to demonstrate dealing with a difficult customer. There are so many different jobs that can be relevant to demonstrate that you have the skills, including jobs like restaurant staff, retail, front desk, or even reception jobs, plus many, many more. So even if you don't have work experience, you may have volunteered perhaps at a helpline or charity, or even got involved with arranging an event. So all of those instances can include interacting with a difficult customer. Now, this is how to structure your answer. I use the STAR method to structure my answer to this question. So what is the STAR method? STAR stands for situation, task, action, result. You'll have heard me mention it many times if you've seen any of my videos, and it can be referred to as the STAR method, the STAR interview method, the STAR technique. as well. I cover the top 22 STAR method interview questions and answers in this video. If you want more STAR method examples, I'll link that in the description below this video. So the STAR method is a way to answer interview questions with a rounded, comprehensive answer that covers all of the points that the interviewer will be asking for if they ask a question about a situation where something happens. How to answer if you don't have experience. So here's an example answer if you don't have experience. A couple of months ago, I was part of a college group project. One of our group members was consistently late in submitting their parts of the project, and this started causing tension in the group. One day during a group meeting, things escalated and an argument started between this person and another group member. I knew that if things continued this way, it would be detrimental to the project, the group dynamic, and the morale. I decided to step in and mediate the situation. I did this by staying calm. I knew that it was important to keep my emotions in check, even though I was frustrated, so I asked if we could all take a minute before discussing anything else. Once everyone was calmer, I spoke to the team member who was late with their submission and asked them to share their perspective. I focused carefully on what they were saying and I didn't interrupt. They explained that they were struggling with personal issues which affected their ability to contribute on time. I then asked the rest of the group to at least consider how they might feel in that situation, and I asked them to think about how we could support that team member while also making sure that the project stayed on track. Through this approach, I was able to de-escalate the situation in the end. So this answer is a little long, but just use the parts you find most helpful that apply to similar things that are in your own experience. Question 2 is a situational interview question. Tell me about a time when you made a mistake. This is a situational interview question because it asks, tell me about a time when. So any questions where the interviewer is asking you about a time when or situation where something happened is a situational interview question. This can also fall under other categories like behavioral questions as well, because it's also assessing your behavior in relation to errors and mistakes. Now, if you do want the top 15 situational interview questions and answers so that you're fully prepared for your interview, then you can watch this video. I'll link that in the description below along with the other videos. So an example answer to tell me about a time you made a mistake is: during my previous job as an office administrator, I was tasked with creating a promotional campaign for a new product launch. One of the promotional materials I created was an email to our customer base which included a discount code for a new product. Unfortunately, I accidentally sent the email to the wrong section of our database, which included customers who had already purchased the product at full price. As a result, some customers were understandably annoyed that they didn't receive the discount and reached out to our customer support team to complain. Once I realized my mistake, I immediately notified my supervisor and our customer support team. After getting approval, I sent out an apology email to the affected customers acknowledging the mistake and offering them a personalized discount code as a gesture of goodwill. I also made sure to follow up with each customer to ensure that their issue had been resolved and complaints died down significantly as a result. So a lot of people struggle with customer service, interview questions and answers. So if this is helping you, do click like and leave a comment. This helps the video to show up for more people on the YouTube platform who are looking for help with this. If you've already had great results and secured a job and you want to say thank you, then you can buy me a coffee. There's a link in the video description below showing you how to do that. Now, if you have an urgent interview coming up very soon and you have a question that you need answered urgently by me, then you can also join the channel as a member for a priority response to your question from me. You'll also get instant access to all of these free guides. So that includes the top 20 interview questions and answers guide, the CV and resume blueprint guide, and the interview prep cheat sheet. So all of that will be included in your membership and you can cancel at any time, and you can join by clicking the join button below this video. So why is this a good answer and how can I use it? So you may have spotted it. If you did, you're super observant, but I used the STAR method to answer this question. So here's the part to pay the most attention to in this answer. The strength in this answer lies here in the action section, where you list the things that you did to start working towards a solution. You notified your supervisor, you notified the customer support team, you sent out an apology email and offered a discount code. Of course, something like that would need approval, so just do include that if you have a similar example. But in your interview, the reason listing these things out is so important is because in these types of situations, these steps are a given. They happen as standard when you're resolving a mistake. And so many candidates don't include the specific steps that they've taken, which shows the amount of work and effort that you put into resolving your mistake. It's important to list out one by one the steps that you took in resolving the error. So this example was based around sending an accidental email and the repercussions, but here are some other examples that you can use. So things like missing a deadline, perhaps you had a high workload and you forgot about a deadline, perhaps you didn't double check something, or maybe you missed a step in a process that resulted in a problem for a team member or a colleague. And this could be something simple like forgetting a data entry mistake that had a repercussion, or making a decision without full approval. So these are all typical examples of the types of mistakes that you could make at work. Question 3 is tell me about yourself. So an example answer is, I really enjoy building relationships with people over time, and I'm quite social in my personal life, and that's always been reflected in my career choices. I've been working as a store assistant for a year, and I've enjoyed the whole time. I've had some really great interactions, I've met some wonderful people, and I've learned a lot about how to manage difficult situations. I also learned how to really listen, show empathy and understanding, and now I feel like I'm ready to take the next step in my career into a customer services position and take on new responsibilities, which is why I applied for this role. I feel like the skills I've gained as well as my successes could add significant value in this role. For example, I suggested a new system to make refunds easier and smoother for customers, which was appreciated by management, and I really enjoyed working on my own initiative in that instance to improve the service I'm offering while I'm at work. So why is this a good answer and how can I use it? So there's no one way to answer this question. So you can answer in many different ways, but for those of you who find it helpful to have a clear structure, here's a foolproof one that I use, my clients use, and many subscribers have used this to secure a job as well. So start with a soft skill and connect it to a hard skill that you've gained in a previous role or that attracted you to the job. So here it is in this answer. I really enjoy building connections with people over time. And then here, I've been working as a store assistant for a year. Now, if you don't know what soft skills and hard skills are, I'll break it down briefly because it is a long topic, but essentially soft skills are skills that are hard to measure and quantify. So skills like communication, teamwork, attention to detail, these are all soft skills. So why are they hard to measure? They're subjective. So let's take communication, for example. You might be convinced that you are an excellent communicator, but perhaps other people may not feel the same, or vice versa. It's very subjective, whereas hard skills are things like systems experience, solid qualifications. So let's say that you've used a specific system, or let's say that you know how to use Outlook to send an email. You either do or don't. It's not subjective. It's easy for someone to test you on that and prove quickly whether or not you know what you're doing. So you're starting with a soft skill, connecting it to a hard skill you've gained, and then what attracted you to the company, one key achievement, and you can end with what you're looking for or what attracted you to the company or job, but it doesn't need to be in that order. So in this answer, you've got what attracted you here. I'm ready to take the next step in my career, take on new responsibilities, and here, that's why I applied for the role. And the achievement is here. I suggested a new system, which was appreciated by management. Question 4 is, what does customer service mean to you? An example answer is, customer service means having a continuous customer focus, which includes listening without interrupting, showing empathy when a customer is experiencing difficulty. I think consistently excellent service is being flexible enough to understand the various approaches to take depending on the situation. Although the customer is the priority, there may be instances where offering a compromise or negotiation is more appropriate, and there may also be instances where going above and beyond to help a customer is the best way to deliver a good service. For example, I work on reception at a hotel. A family checked in for their vacation. Upon arrival, they mentioned in passing that they are there to celebrate their daughter's birthday. I overheard this and arranged a small surprise for the family. So when they returned to their room in the evening, they found a small birthday cake, balloons, and a handwritten note wishing their daughter a happy birthday. This unexpected gesture left a lasting positive impression on the family and ensured their loyalty to the hotel brand. I went beyond the usual service because the opportunity arose to create a special experience for the customer. For me, this is what quality customer service is. So why is this a good answer and how can I use it? There's so many examples that you can use when you're answering a question like this. You can use an example of offering proactive support in your job. Maybe you noticed a glitch or a bug in a service or system at work before anyone else. Flag it to management and it may result in avoiding customer complaints. Let's say that you worked in retail and a customer came in unsure of what they wanted to buy. It could be something as simple as suggesting accessories to be helpful, or it could be something as simple as dealing with a customer complaint until it's fully resolved and keeping the customer updated. In this answer, here are the strongest areas that would be most useful to you. So first is the structure. This whole first section, from customer service to appropriate outcome, is a summary answer. It answers the question directly. This is what I think good customer service is. This section includes key things like empathy and listening, and these are key in customer service. So what might put you above an average customer service rep is a natural ability to be flexible depending on the situation, and that's included here, where you mention that understanding the different approaches means that you can offer good customer service on a consistent basis. On its own, that first section is an answer, but you would be boosting your answer by adding for example. So when you're in an interview and you add for example, I mentioned this in question 1, it really just takes your answer up a level or two, and then I've included a quick but effective example. So do include this in your interview. If you've picked up that I didn't use the full STAR method here, then that's excellent. You don't always need to use it. So sometimes an answer is just stronger without using it. So I didn't want to use it here. It also makes your answer longer. So I go into detail on the whole strategy that you can use in your interview in my interview mastery program. So I'll put a link to that in the video description below in case you want more information. It's a short program that includes how to stabilize your interview nerves, how to sell yourself, build consistent confidence, and sell your unique skills. And as I mentioned, I'll pop a link to that in the description below so you can get more information. Question 5 is, why should we hire you? An example answer is, I think you should hire me because there are multiple areas where I could add value in this role. I'm naturally drawn to roles that include lots of interaction with others, as I really enjoy connecting with others. I'm a naturally clear communicator, and this gives me an opportunity to do that, to use those natural skills. Also, I noticed that the job description mentions you're looking for someone who understands effective listening, has a positive attitude, and can work under pressure. Although I haven't worked in customer service, I have worked in retail for 6 months, and I have several demonstrable, transferable skills that I think could add value in this role. For example, in my appraisals and reviews with my manager, my feedback has often included my positive outlook and how this is demonstrated in how I interact with customers and how I communicate on a day-to-day basis. I think that my time in retail demonstrates that I learn quickly, and I'd like to continue to build on the solid foundations of skills I've gained already. I think this role would give me an opportunity to do that. So why is this a good answer and how can I use it? So this is a good answer because it's clear where it links to the role you're interviewing for. So for example, where it says here, the job description mentions, when you say this, you're demonstrating that you have looked at the job description already and there was some level of preparation and care before your interview, and you've thought about the areas of the role that match with your own skills. So before your interview, please spend time with the job description and familiarize yourself with it. So many candidates don't do this, and it does irritate irritate some interviewers. The other areas that are key in this answer is here where it says I'm naturally drawn to roles that include. You can use this in your answer, just replace the rest with what you're naturally drawn to and try to link it to what's already in the role. So for example, let's say it was a PA or secretary role. It could be I'm naturally drawn to or gravitate towards this type of role because I'm naturally organized, because excellent organization skills are required to do that type of role. Just be sure to then go on and explain how you're organized. This one last key area here is good for you if you don't have experience, where it mentions I have worked in retail, but these are the transferable skills. If you don't have experience, then before your interview, when you're looking at the job description, think about your relevant transferable skills and how they link to the role. Transferable skills, in case you're not sure what these are skills that you've picked up in other jobs or other areas of life that would work well or transfer to the role that you're interviewing for. I want to move on to the next question, so I won't get more into detail on examples, but I have covered transferable skills in full in this video, which I will link in the description below for you because it goes into more detail and is perfect if you don't have experience. Question 6 is, why do you want to work for us? The answer to this question needs to be focused on the company and potentially the team or department. This question is an opportunity to show off your passion for the company as opposed to selling your skills. You can answer it by including your skills, but there are other questions you'll be asked that would be a better opportunity to do that, like why should we hire you? What are your key skills? Even in questions like tell me about yourself. So here's an example answer. I noticed this company has a focus on well-being and the growth of its employees. When I was doing my research before this interview, I noticed on many LinkedIn profiles that there are a lot of internal moves and promotions, which indicates that people tend to stay for a long time because opportunities are created for the staff that work here and they are rewarded for staying. As I was in my previous role for 4 years without the opportunity to grow, I was so pleased to see that. I also noticed online that your company has a focus on community effort and volunteering. Giving back and volunteering are some of my personal integral values, and I felt very connected to that purpose. I would love to work for a company that holds all of those values and accomplishments. So why is this a good answer and how can I use it? So one key thing in that answer is the reference to community effort. You need to dig into what the company you're interviewing at cares about. So they'll normally refer to this on their site. They tend to have areas on their website where they'll talk about their values, and sometimes they'll mention it on their LinkedIn. That's another place to find that information. But normally on their site, they'll talk about things like their commitment to the community or diversity or their specific values. And then you as the candidate just need to think about which of yours match with theirs and share that where it's relevant in your interview. Question 7 is, why do you want to work in customer service? An example answer is, I have a combination of skills that I feel make me a perfect fit for a customer service role, which is why I want to work in customer service. I love communicating with lots of people from different backgrounds. I love the variety of queries I'm likely to get in a customer services role. For me, these queries are like a puzzle I need to solve, and that is very attractive to me. I love taking a challenge on completely and staying with it until it's fully resolved. And from what I understand, that would suit customer service very well. I'm naturally empathetic. I understand that in most cases, if a customer is frustrated, impatient, or even rude, there's normally an underlying cause that I need to understand, and I put my focus into that instead of feeling personally offended in those scenarios. I know it's not personal. Based on this, I believe I would really enjoy a customer service role, and that's why I want to work in customer services. So why is this a good answer and how can I use it? With an answer like this, you're simply going over your why. So what's your reason for selecting the role, your career path, and what you're passionate about? You want to demonstrate that you are a natural fit for the role, and you're doing that by highlighting all of these skills in this answer here. The variety of queries, your empathy, the fact that you love communicating, and little phrases like this one here, from what I understand about this role, are key to use in your interview. It gives a clear impression that you have an understanding of what would be expected, and this can apply even if you don't have experience. So when you're including things like I'm a clear communicator, or I love communicating with others. Communicate that part of what you say clearly. So that means slowing right down, particularly if you are someone that naturally speaks fast, like me. You have to constantly remind yourself to slow down, particularly in a nervous setting like an interview. Smile, use confident body language, sit up straight, make eye contact so it matches with the skill that you are selling when you say that. And remember to close off your answer by linking it back to the question with, and that's why I want to work in customer service. Question 8 is, when have you gone above and beyond for a customer? So this is another situational interview question. It's asking, when have you gone above and beyond? So it's asking about a time when. As a customer technical support rep, my role is to pick up technical queries and complaints from customers. A customer called in one day as he was struggling with a device and needed help, but he was also facing a significant language barrier. We were struggling to communicate effectively due to his limited English proficiency. I took several steps to ensure that we could communicate. I spoke slowly, used simple, clear language, but the customer still had some difficulty. I checked if any of my colleagues spoke Spanish, which was the customer's primary language. Unfortunately, they didn't, but they suggested that I ask him to send an email instead. I didn't want to do this as the email may be misinterpreted, plus he'd have to explain his query from the beginning. Instead, I suggested we switch to online chat where I could use a translator. Although the query took slightly longer to resolve, switching to chat ultimately solved the issue, and the conversation was much more fluid. I was able to identify that the customer had multiple technical issues caused by incompatible software. I was able to remotely update his device and the issue was solved. So why is this a good answer and how can I use it? So this answer does use the STAR method. It's useful to give a full rounded example to this question, but you don't need to use it all the time. As I mentioned earlier, it does make your answer a little bit longer. So if you're including other elements in your answer, then you can just use a short example. So I'll show you how to do this in the next question, which is, how would you define good customer service? So when you're answering this question, you can pull elements from question 4, which was, what does customer service mean to you? They're similar questions, but I've included both of them to make sure that I cover all of the most relevant, popular customer service interview questions and answers. So here I'll share a slightly different answer. I think good customer service includes empathy for the customer and a level of consistent care that might involve going above and beyond my role. I can share an example of when I think I offered good customer service in hospitality. As a waiter in my current role, I regularly serve customers with dietary restrictions. A couple arrived one evening and one of them mentioned being vegan. I took a moment to highlight all of the vegan-friendly options on the menu. At this point, I realized that the choices were limited, so I consulted the chef, who agreed to prepare a special dish not listed on our menu to ensure the guest had a memorable dining experience. I think that kind of attentiveness and flexibility is how I would define good customer service. So why is this a good answer and how can I use it? So here you're including some of the soft skills, empathy, going above and beyond, but also including a strong example without the STAR method, or at least you're not using the full STAR method here. The next question is, what's your biggest weakness? I'll say up front here, the biggest mistake that candidates make when answering this question, which you need to avoid, is sharing a weakness that is in direct opposition to the role. So if the role you're interviewing for includes things like knows how to work with autonomy and uses initiative, an example that would go against this is an example where you refer a really simple decision to a manager, because that doesn't demonstrate autonomy, or a situation where you always rigidly stuck to a process even if the individual situation called for you to consider going outside of the normal process. I hear this a lot. Best thing to do is, before your interview, go over examples so that you can be sure that what you want to share will not accidentally be out of line with something that is critical in the role. So look at the job description to get a clear idea. So an example answer is, At times, I can overthink decisions. It's usually when I'm trying to ensure the best outcome for a client or customer. It does help me to consider all of the options, but I have been working on being more decisive and trusting my judgment. I've been doing this in two main ways. First is setting a time limit for tasks and decisions and avoid tipping into overthinking by creating a simple list. For example, if I were looking for something online, I might limit my time and the categories that I search in, so I'm only searching a few areas, which limits the overwhelming information, which would normally cause me to overthink, and then I can make a quick and decisive decision. So why is this a good answer and how can I use it? So this one's really simple. Share a weakness and talk about how you've overcome it or are still working on it, and include a solid example or a few, like in this answer. So I know I said top 10 interview questions and answers, but just to make sure that you're fully prepared, here is an important bonus question. Do you have any questions for me? Or you might be asked, do you have any questions for us at the end of your interview? Some good questions to ask in a customer service role interview are questions about the interviewer. So this builds connection and knowledge about someone you could potentially be working with. So questions like, can you tell me a bit about your journey? What did you do before this and what ultimately made you decide to come and work here? Also, questions about the team, like what type of person works well in this team. This shows your interest in being a team fit. Also, questions about the role, such as what kind of projects would I be involved in, but only if this hasn't been mentioned or is already on the job description, or it could give the impression that you haven't researched or haven't paid attention. And lastly, a question about the company, like what's your favorite thing about working here, or what are the company's highest priority goals this year and how would my role contribute? But it needs to be appropriate to the role and the level that you're interviewing at, so go with what feels right in your interview. Thank you very much for watching. If you haven't already, do like, leave a comment, and I'll see you in the next video.